Hi everyone and welcome back to Spring of Series 8 in Forza Horizon 5. Today we're doing Hot on the Trail, the last seasonal championship of last season of Series 8, and this one puts us in Rally Monsters, German made, in B class, in quite obviously rally racing. And when I've seen Rally Monsters I got quite excited first, but then I realized that B class limitation really restricts us to two cars, Opel Manta 400 and this Porsche Desert Flyer. So we used Opel Manta a few times and we used this Desert Flyer in the stock trial, and I decided to go with the Porsche just because, for no real reason whatsoever. And the first race takes us to Barranca Trail, or Ravine Trail, which is a very interesting and kind of unique track in Forza Horizon 5. It starts off with a very long, very fast asphalt section right here, going uphill, and then turns into a very narrow, twisty dirt track downhill, just to finish off with another asphalt section in the very end. So we are up in the second, in the end of the fast part, and I want to actually overtake this guy before we get on the dirt, because that section is really narrow right there. So just try to not hit the wall here. Kind of successfully, still badly made turn, but it's okay. Now overtaking here on this section is actually not that hard. AI is really bad in each of these corners, so if you didn't make it before the end of the asphalt section, that's okay, that's not a problem, but it's still easier if you pass them all on the asphalt part, which the tune I recommend is actually helping you to do. Now all the way down we'll have to alternate directions and go straight really fast, and braking hard and twisting into yet another corner, trying to not lose control of the car. And yeah, 3/4 of the race already done before I managed to blink. I really like this track. It's a good one. It is kind of similar to a much longer Montagna Trail, which follows the similar pattern without the asphalt part, all dirt, but also twisty, narrow, back and forth track on the side of the volcano. But this one is way more compact, much faster, and easier in a sense, probably just because of the length. Montagna Trail leaves you much more space for various errors and mistakes, and this one is just nice and easy. You can see the caterpillar of identical Desert Flyers behind me, so obviously AI chose the same car as I did for all of them. So let's move on to the next race, and this one is Bajio Trail, or Shallows, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Shallows Trail. So off we go again. Funny enough, this Desert Flyer is quite an interesting car. I knew nothing about it at all, so my kind of assumption was that this is a Porsche's take on rally racing, which is a little bit weird if you ask me. They are particularly known for really fast road cars, but not so much for rally, I would say. Yeah, I thought it's somewhere from the 90s, a gimmick race car that went back into history, never to appear again. And I couldn't be further from the truth. It's actually a project, a private project of a racing team that started in 2014, really recently, and they were making two identical cars, or similar cars, two sister cars, to participate in a Mexican 1,000 miles rally, or 1,000 kilometers, not quite sure, but yeah, in the desert. So there were two cars like that built. One is the Desert Flyer and another is Red Sled, and it took a while to build them. So they first participated in actual racing in 2017, so just very recently, and they finished third and fourth in their inaugural race in their class, which is already a really good result. But they took it forward to 2018 and won it with flying colors. 1-2. First Desert Flyer and the second is Red Sled, which is the very first time Porsche of any kind has won a Desert 1000 mile rally, which is quite a feat. They continued racing in 2019 for, I can't quite remember what the result was, but it was also quite high in their class. Not a win, but probably a podium finish. And the plan was to keep doing that, but then pandemic screwed all of us over, and a lot of competition, including racing, got cancelled. So those plans got pulled to stop. I don't know if they are coming back with the Desert Flyer and Red Sled into the racing anytime soon, but I assume so, because those cars are in great shape. They performed really nicely, and all the modifications from the original 1989 911, they are absolutely very modern things. There's electrical steering, there's everything you can think of in terms of modern adjustments to make an old Porsche into an off-road beast. All of that was done, so it's actually quite cool. And I have to say that in terms of the looks, I actually like the Red Sled better. I wonder if there is a livery available for this car that turns it into Red Sled, but unfortunately I didn't think to check it before I recorded the race. I first recorded the race and then looked up what the car is about. But with that, we're done with the shallows and we'll proceed to Baja California Trail in a second. Yeah, here we are in Baja California, the last race of the championship. We obviously won the first two, continuing the track of the Desert Flyer in reality. I am using the same Martini paint by Much 3000 that I used in the stock trials, but I will look up afterwards if anybody created a Red Sled paint for it, and maybe use it at some other point. It's interesting that there's literally two cars like that in different coloring that exist in the world. So obviously someone in Forza Horizon 5 did in Playground Games did a really serious research to find those cars, acquire them, get all the scanning and all that done. So that couldn't have been easy, and you don't get them in UK, I guess, because both cars belong somewhere in US, and the races, the rally they took part in was in Mexico, which is probably why this car made it here in the first place. So Playground Games were looking for something really Mexico special, and I kind of got thinking when I was reading about the Desert Flyer that we don't really get a lot of car history in Forza Horizon 5. We sometimes get snippets of that when the new cars are announced in the form of Twitter message, or sometimes as a blog, or sometimes as a newsletter in the mailbox. But let's face it, even those interested in it gonna forget about it about 15 seconds later. It would be cool to have something like an actual garage in Forza Horizon 5 where you could virtually walk around the hundreds of cars that you have and stop by any of them and look at the photos, read some history, look at the specs, actually look at the history of the car, the stats that you can access about the car, who the owners were, what the worth of the parts, mileage, and all that stuff could be nicely incorporated into such virtual garage. But I guess making something like that, especially for 600 cars we have in the game, is gonna be a very serious undertaking. So I don't think it's something coming within this title. A bit of a shame though. With that, we are done with the final seasonal championship of spring, and we'll continue doing so in the next week. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one.